All right, today I'm talking to Terri Carroll. She's the Director of Libraries at Carroll State College, and there are actually two different locations that she covers. This is the Joey White Library that we're actually sitting in right now, and it's at the Poto campus. There's also the Dolores O'Gwen Mitchell Library, which is on our Sallisaw campus that she oversees as well. So we're going to talk to her about how it works here at the college level, and then also what this has to do with the K-12 curriculum, and some insight that we can get maybe for a K-12 library media specialist as far as what they can do to help prepare students by the time they get to this level. And I thought we'd just start by asking Terri what your own background is, or what made you interested in this, and your education and all that good jazz.
Okay. My experience in libraries began at what at the time was West Stark Community College. It's now the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. And I was hired as a library technical assistant. At that time I had no library experience. But I had some great librarians that I worked with and did not realize at the time how much I loved the library. So I worked as library technical assistant, promoted to what they called LTA 2, and worked a lot with reference and helping students with research, worked some with interlibrary loan. And then my career there ended, did a few other things, and I went and earned a bachelor's at the University of Oklahoma. It was an online program and really enjoyed doing that, but decided that my bachelor's was in liberal studies, but it wasn't specific enough for me to get a career. And I thought, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And I kept going back to my time working in the library at West Stark. And so I thought, you know, I'd really like to go back to school to be a librarian. But I had a family. I didn't want to leave home. I could not leave home to attend classes. So I kept looking for online programs, and Texas Women's University had a completely online Master of Library Science program. And so I applied and was accepted and finished a Master of Library Science with a focus on academic librarianship in 2 years, and it was a completely online program.
Cool. Have you always been, when you decided to go library, was it always higher ed that you were interested in?
It was, because that's where my experience was, and also that was more my passion, because it took me several years to obtain my degrees, and I was a non-traditional student through most of those years. And I just have a passion. I came from a very small high school, was very intimidated by libraries when I went to college, and I wanted to help students overcome that fear when they came to college.
Cool. Now you've been here at Carroll Albert?
In the library, I've been here since the summer of '06.
Summer of '06, okay. And you oversee two libraries?
Yes, the library here. The Joey White Library is a traditional library in the sense that we have print materials as well as electronic resources. The Dolores O'Gwen Mitchell Library on the Sallisaw campus is a state-of-the-art library in that all the resources are electronic. We do not have any print materials. Students rely on databases and e-books and streamed videos to get the materials that they need.
Okay. One of the things that we've been talking about with the K-12 curriculum is helping students become information literate, and we all really want to do that. We also understand that library media specialists and their role, and also the library media program, has been changing so much over the years. And in your impression of when students actually get here from the K-12 background, how information literate are they? And then maybe part two of the question could be, what can K-12 media specialists do, the ones who are getting in there now, like my colleagues and everything, to really make it work so that when they get here they are prepared? How does that work?
That's a great question, because that's been a goal of mine, is information literacy. And this semester at Carroll Albert on the Poto campus, we decided to conduct a basic assessment of information literacy knowledge, of basic terminology with incoming freshmen. We had 12 classes consisting of around 324 students. The assessment that we administered was 10 questions dealing with basic questions such as, what is a periodical? How do I find a book on the shelf? What is peer reviewed? Questions such as that. When we graded the assessment, we considered a score of 70% as average for passing. And what we found was, out of those 12 classes, the 324 students, over 63% of those students did not even score average.
Wow.
So what that told us was that the students coming in as true freshmen do not even have a basic understanding of information literacy terminology, which in turn will hamper their ability to conduct effective research and in turn write effective research papers. I found those numbers rather shocking because I consider 70% to be low average.
Right.
Then what we've done at the end of the semester, we administered those at the beginning of the semester. Now at the end of the semester, we're going back and we're administering the same assessment to see if there's been any increase in the knowledge base over the course of their first semester in college. We have not calculated those yet, so we hope to have our results by the beginning of the spring semester. But what we would like to do is collaborate now with high schools, with the library media specialists in the high schools, and say, okay, here are the areas where the students do not have a basic understanding of what they need to actually start research when they enter college. You know, can we work on some kind of collaborative effort, a program, to get them to where they need to be to come in and start research without us having to go through that training?
Right. We've talked a whole lot about collaboration and the importance of collaboration, and I hope, as complex as the situation is, we can get into some things like that, because there's a lot of that too. It seems like one of the things that we keep coming back to, no matter what policies and procedures we look at, is that core for the K-12 library media specialists where they just want to help kids love to read. I mean, there's just that thing of just enjoying reading and the joy of going into somewhere and seeing all these resources and, you know, having nerd fits or whatever, just wanting to go pull it off the shelf. What about when they make it to the college level? Do you find students coming in here, I know we're an academic library, but we have a fiction section. Do you find students coming in here just wanting to read and pulling books off the shelf for the love of reading, that when it's not connected to a class, despite how busy they are?
We do. As with most libraries, you get to know those groups of students. You know, I wouldn't say that it's campus-wide, but yes, there is a group of students that really enjoys leisure reading, and they will come in. We receive the New York Times bestsellers list, and so we keep a shelf with just current new bestsellers, and they will come in and browse those and check those out. And in promoting that, we will have, for instance, with the New Moon movie coming out, we did a big display with all the Twilight books, and then had a ballot set up where students could vote if they were Team Edward or Team Jacob.
Did Edward win?
Well, we haven't counted.
Oh, you haven't counted yet. Okay.
So we're still taking votes. And then on Banned Books Week, we had, of course, a lot of it was with your help with the class assignment, with students reading a banned book. Students do not realize the fiction books that have been challenged or banned across the United States. And so we did a big display, and that really drew a lot of attention. And I think a lot of it is just promotion. And, you know, if we do displays, and a lot of it is talking, word of mouth, we'll say, hey, have you read this? You might really like it. And then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends, and so a lot of it is word of mouth.
Good deal. I'm glad to hear that they're doing that. I see some students every once in a while that'll have the books in their hands, and I think, oh, that's good, because I know it wasn't required for a class.
Right.
One of the things in this particular class we've been talking about is collection development, and I'd like to kind of go over some specifics with that. But one of the things is, in terms of technology integration, just roughly, where do you allocate our resources here in terms of print versus, you know, and then even maybe fiction versus nonfiction electronically, and then where do you see libraries headed in terms of technology versus print?
Okay. I know there's an ongoing debate about libraries are not going to be in existence because we will no longer have print books. My personal opinion on that is that's not going to happen. There are still so many students. There's something about holding that book in your hand and flipping through the pages. I mean, we still have a big demand for that. As far as the budget at Carroll State College, I'm going to estimate that we spend around 70% of our budget on electronic resources. Those would include databases, e-books, filmed, streamed video. And we do that because we have a lot of students that live in the dorms on campus. Also, a major influence on that is our library at Sallisaw. With them being an electronic library and not having print materials, we need to provide to those students what they need via an electronic format.